proteins are. See what Many of my Facebook friends are competitive powerlifters and bodybuilders who've been lifting for years and years, but I also have quite a few kids in their teens and early 20s who ask me questions quite often, and I try to answer those questions with these videos. So yeah, I know that these seem to be elementary to a lot of my friends, but that's the reason this content seems to be so basic much of the time, is because I'm answering questions from the younger lifters. Now, the question that's popped up recently is, how do I develop my upper chest? Well, I've had a problem with this because I've been a competitive powerlifter all my life, and when you're doing competitive bench presses, you don't develop that upper pec. So I wanted to talk about a couple of exercises that you can do as bodybuilders to fill in that area. Okay, so I've moved down to the gym because I want to show you precisely how this exercise is done. This is the bench press to the neck. We're going to use a straight bar in a regular conventional bench press. We are not going to set up in the same fashion as we set up when we do a competitive bench press. We're not going to use leg drive. We're not going to come back in an arc. We're not going to use a body arch. Okay, we're just going to be relaxed in a normal a bench press position, and we're going to place our hands where we would normally place our hands when bench pressing. We're going to have our eyes directly under the bar, and then we're going to come down to the base of the neck and then push straight up. Down, breathe out. Okay? Now, when you perform this exercise, you're going to want to do 5+ sets, and you're going to want to go to failure on each set with maybe 5 seconds, maybe a little bit more between sets. And I don't use a lot of weight on these. This is bodybuilding. I'm going for a pump. I use like 155. You younger guys, you're probably not going to use as much. Don't worry about the weight. You're trying to fill this area in. This is bodybuilding. You're going for a pump. And you'll know if you've done the proper work because you'll feel that tightness up there. Now, there's another exercise that you can do to help you fill in the upper pec. Now, I do not have an incline bench press here, but what you would do, you guys know what flies are, chest flies. You will do chest flies with light weight on an incline bench press. And again, 5-6 sets of that. And you know, I only use maybe 35 pounds. You're going to feel that pump in that upper pec. So these are 2 exercises that when done together, you know, you're going to have 12 sets. You're going to be really working that upper pec, and over some months, say 6 months, you're going to see a big change. That area is going to fill in. I don't have a before picture, but this photo does show that I have some upper chest development, and I can tell you that the guys that have known me for years will tell you that that was not there, you know, 5 years ago, and most of this has been achieved in the last 6 months. So it can happen very quickly as long as you do the hard work. You know, I grew up at a gym, and I say grow up because that's exactly what I did. I matured at a gym that was a bench press specialist gym, and that's reminiscent of the time. It was extremely common in the 80s, 70s for lifters to just specialize in the bench press. We used to make fun of people. We used to call it the Flamingo Gym. Guys wouldn't even work their legs. They wanted to be bench pressers, and they wanted to have the big pecs, shoulders, and the arms, and that was it. And when I say arms, I'm not even talking about biceps. I'm just talking about triceps. But and I think that reflects the owner. So when I had my gym, I was always very careful to teach all 3 exercises: bench press, squat, deadlift, so that my people would be well-rounded. But when I do my chest exercises, I do the 2 exercises I just mentioned, but I also include dumbbell flat bench presses, heavy, in addition to my regular competitive bench press routine. And I like to do flies, flat flies. So it's quite a long workout, a lot of volume. The to the neck exercises are not heavy like the other exercises, but you want to have upper pec development, you want to have lower pec development, outer pec development, inner pec development for a bodybuilder. So it sounds more complicated than it is. It's something you get used to. You don't even think about it after a while, and there are other combinations that are great, and I won't get into that, but this should answer the question that was asked. My lifestyle is somewhat of a mystery to the people who know me at the gym. They see me bringing my lunch to the gym, which may consist of a cheeseburger, a tenderloin, barbecue, maybe fries. And they don't understand how I can eat that stuff and look the way I do. And when I explain to them how I do it, they think I'm joking. So I just wanted to explain how I do this in more detail. What I've achieved is a state called hyperthyroidism. Your thyroid gland is essentially your metabolism. And I've elevated my metabolism by using 3 different techniques. The first technique is simply the fact that over many years I've built up considerable muscle mass. I know I'm not a professional bodybuilder. I'm not a large person by any means, but at 5'8" and 190 pounds, I carry a lot of lean muscle. I'm probably 7-8% body fat. And that muscle has to consume calories constantly, 24/7, in order to maintain itself. So my metabolism is elevated as a result of carrying all this muscle. The second thing that I do to stay in a state of hyperthyroidism is I take stimulants. Now that sounds terrible, I know, but pre-workouts contain stimulants, and everybody these days pretty much takes a pre-workout. Now, typically a pre-workout will contain 300 milligrams of caffeine. I may stop at the coffee shop and take another 600 milligrams of caffeine. So that's 900 milligrams. You're approaching the danger zone, not quite. Also included in most of these drinks is beta-alanine, which is an amino acid. It's a vasodilator. Usually you'll have anywhere from 1,500 to 3,000 milligrams of beta-alanine in one of these drinks. I might add beta-alanine in the form of powder, maybe 3,000 more milligrams. So I go to work out, my metabolism is just, sky high. And it's going to stay that way pretty much until early evening, late evening, but I can sleep at night. Thirdly, the way I train. Again, I train sets to failure. 5 seconds between sets, and a high volume, maybe 30 sets per body part. My workouts are very, very intense, and that's how I build this large muscle mass. Most people aren't willing to do this, go to this much work, but that's what it takes, because your body resists change. A state of hyperthyroidism will only last as long as you train like a professional bodybuilder, maintain your muscle mass, and do your stimulants. Once you stop working out, you're going to revert to your natural state. Whatever your physique is, naturally, without training, you're going to revert to that state. You might maintain a little bit of that muscle mass, but they used to say in the old days that muscle is going to turn to fat as soon as you stop training. Well, muscle can't turn to fat. But what happens is you stop training, and usually people keep eating the same amount of food and they gain fat. But hyperthyroidism is reversible. Not that you want to reverse it, but it's something that has to be maintained on a daily basis.